Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the middle after dark over here.
Hello and welcome. Episode 57 from the middle, coming at you from Central Ohio. We are three middle-class guys in the middle chapters of our lives with middle points of view from the middle. Three middle-class guys coming at you from the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. 57 episodes in, and I'm figuring it out still.
It's fine.
My name is Kendall. I am joined
And I'm Corey.
by the brothers Corey, and the other one over there
Dylan.
is Dylan.
It's true.
And here we are. I literally had minutes to think of what I was going to say, and I didn't think about what I was going to say.
You would have never known.
Yeah.
All
Wouldn't
right.
have guessed. So here we are. Here we are on this very hot day in the beginning of July today.
The feels like
94
was
degrees.
in the mid to high 90s.
Yeah,
Ugh.
indeed. So,
But it's a wet heat, so
it's it's how I like my heat and my states. So what have you guys been doing today? How have you been cooling off, Corey?
I've been cooling off in my new pool.
Whoa, cha-ching.
Believe it or not, about a week's worth of really hard work in 90 plus degree temps, and we have a pool that is full of water and it is level. And
Yes.
I don't trust my work. Going back to episode 55, where we talked about manliness and how we sometimes question ourselves as guys. And so I don't trust it. But right now, there's no leaks and it's level and it supports its own weight. And so, it's been a learning experience. But I in between conference calls today, I went and floated around a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've seen some pictures of it, of your kids and stuff playing in it, and Greg Dillo, who has been on this podcast before. He was our Godzilla expert.
Episode 5, I think that was.
Somewhere around there. He was our first ever guest, right?
Yep. Yeah, he's helped almost every single day. Not once have I asked him to help, but he's graciously offered to help us out. We're paying him in beverages and nice dinners and ice cream, and he hangs out with our kids, and it's a great time. So could not have done it without him. Thank you, Greg. But it's up. I've learned a lot. Like I said, in that episode 55, I was intimidated by the totality of the project. But when you just sort of look at the next step, like, okay, level the ground. How do you do that? Remove dirt that's high. I can do that, like
Yeah.
you just break it. It's like a set of Lego instructions, right? If I were to tell you to just build the Millennium Falcon, you'd be like, I don't know if I can do it, but you can do step 1. And so that's what it's been. But the kids have enjoyed it. We started filling it on the July 3rd, but July 4th weekend. So it's been nice. It's been really nice.
There is, in one of those pictures in particular, I think you and Greg are standing at the pool, obviously looking at people who are inside, which you can't see because the water level wasn't yet up to the top, and leaning on the side of the pool, which brought back a terrible memory of mine, which was I don't know, late elementary, middle school, maybe. No, elementary-ish age. And I was at a friend's house. They lived like kind of across the street from us, and they had an above ground pool in their yard. And I remember it wasn't full of water. It was about half full of water, and like I was doing something stupid. I don't know what it was. Like I was like trying to like lean over the edge to try to reach something that was in the pool, and that panel of the pool collapsed. I broke their pool.
Oh man.
And the dad had come out, and he was being all kind of nice about it, surprisingly. I remember somebody saying something about like how like not having enough water in the pool like affects its structural integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a thing. At the time I just felt like they were just being nice. But anyway, so that happened to me. So it was like one of those AFV videos, right?
Yeah.
It's a popular America's Funniest Video that you see people breaking the edges of pools or cutting them with knives, like doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
I was the kid who did it on accident, and it was not pleasant. Our dad had a pool actually like in our barn, an above ground pool, still in its box. It had been there for years, and I don't think he ever planned on actually putting it up, and we ended up giving it to them. It was a sad day. So thanks for bringing back the memories, Corey.
Well, I'm sorry for that. That was not my intention in sharing the videos. It was more pride and just thankfulness that we actually got through it. No, I'm not kidding. Like after work, 6 or 8 hours each day, just dripping sweat. And our yard is sod for like an inch or two, and then it's just pure clay. So you're digging and shaving clay to try to get this sucker level. But it truly has been a learning experience. I think we saved probably $3,000 or $4,000 installing it ourselves. So, probably worth it, but a lot of freaking work. And I'm excited that we'll now probably take better care of it because we know just how much work went into getting it level and looking good and clear water. And yeah, so two amazing pieces of technology, one ancient and one not so ancient. The first ancient one is a water level. Are you familiar with water levels? Not like levels that have water in the tubes in a bubble, like a water level?
Not at all.
So there are a ton of YouTube videos on how to make your own of these, because I don't think they sell them. Somebody's already screaming, yes, they do. But you basically just fill a bucket, preferably a couple gallons with water, and then you hook clear plastic tubing to that bucket starting at the bottom. And then that clear plastic tubing you strap to a tall stick with a tape measure on it. So you've got a bucket full of water, a long bit of tube, and then that tube goes up a stick with a tape measure affixed to it somehow. Okay. For better results, put food coloring in your bucket. The idea is that water always finds its level. So you put that bucket as your base camp anywhere on your job site. It's going to fill the tube, and then you stand that stick upright perpendicular to the ground, and it will find the level of the bucket wherever that base camp of the bucket is, right? So that then becomes point X. So if you want that to be the lowest spot of your pool, and then you move the stick up and down, and you'll go, oh, I'm 3 inches high on this side of the pool. So I know I need to bring it down 3 inches. They've been using that apparently since ancient Egypt. And if you have enough water in the container and enough plastic tubing, you can do that over a huge span. Mm-hmm. And so we could tell on our pavers, because the uprights of the steel pool have to go on pavers. We could tell if we were an 1/8 inch off from that paver to that paver, right? Amazing. Like that saved our skin.
Wow.
The second one is a sod cutter. You walk behind it like a rototiller. It's got a blade on it, and you can set a depth from 1/2 inch to 2.5 inches. and it gets that blade under your sod and it just vibrates like crazy. There's two kind, one that rolls up your sod in perfect Swiss roll shaped lawn cakes or one for curves, which we were working with because it's a circular pool. But yeah, listen, Sherry and I have a mutual friend who did the same project a few weeks before we did. Our pool is a 21-foot pool, but we cut a 25-foot hole to allow some gap at the bottom to put white rock or beach grass or whatever. And we only had to go 6 inches down on our highest side, and we used a sod cutter. This friend of ours did a 33-foot steel pool with shovels and dug 2 feet down with his kids.
Wow.
So he said, how did the pool project go? And I'm like, well, that sod cutter was the best $135 I ever spent to rent something from Home Depot. He's like, yeah, don't tell me about it. So a lot of freaking work. But again, one of those things where you just approach each step, learn something new, get an excuse to buy some new tools, play with some ancient technology. And we still don't have a filter, so we can only fill it so high, up to the little skimmer box.
Right.
But still waiting on one piece of equipment from the pool supply company. But yes, it's done, almost done, and the kids are already enjoying it. And yeah, it's a job that I never want to do again.
2 follow-up questions. How does it feel to be one of like 7 Americans that could get a pool with everything going on? Follow-up question, how many toy boats do you already have / have ordered for the new pool? I'll take quantities of 10 if you've lost track. That's fine.
So we ordered the pool on Mother's Day. That was Sherry's Mother's Day gift. And yeah, that, in fact, another guy that I consulted for some advice who sells pools and installs them says, I don't believe that you actually have a pool because I can't get any. Like, there are none in America right now. All the public pools are closed, or most of them. And so everybody's buying up pools. So yeah, it took a long time to get here. But yeah, so that feels good. For what we paid on Mother's Day, and we went through a wholesaler, for what we paid on Mother's Day, it's half of what that same pool is going for right now.
Jeez.
And yes, I already have a pool in my, or boat in my Amazon cart. As I'm out there dripping sweat, shaving off the clay to try to get it level, I said to Sherry, I want 3 things. I want a man-sized flotation device, not like a kid one that I float on. I want a man-sized flotation device with a cup holder. I want a decent snorkeling mask because I love swimming underwater. And I want a remote control boat. for Case and I.
Yeah, sure. Fortunately, all of those are probably relatively inexpensive online when you just
The last thing, and I promise we'll stop talking about the pool. So the man-sized flotation device I got has a little clip on it, a little rope and a little clip that you can clip a floating cooler to.
Yeah.
The center of it is like a 3-layered cooler that you can put ice and 6 packs of soda in.
Yeah.
And then 5 cup holders all around, and it like floats behind you while you're in the raft. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
Anyway, so yeah, what's up with you cats? How was your 4th of July weekend?
Good. It was weird, just 4th of July, because we didn't like try to go anywhere to watch fireworks or anything like that. So that was unique. And we don't normally really go out of our way. We don't drive an hour to go see fireworks. But, if there's some local stuff, we'll check those out or stream them on YouTube. So we didn't really do any of that. It was really warm. We got out. We took a few drives. I probably got coronavirus. So
Excuse me,
yeah,
what?
it's good.
What? How? What?
I put some coronavirus in my mouth. That's fine. I just right in my mouth. I wasn't
How does it taste?
I wasn't really like paper. I
Did you
wasn't
at least?
paying attention.
Did you add lime? I heard
Okay,
it's good with. Never
here's
mind.
what actually. Here's what
It's a
actually.
tired joke.
Yeah. So I was coming inside from taking the trash out, and I opened the glass door to go inside, and right before it almost closes, it kind of soft closes on your back, right? And I stick my arm out the gap to put my hand in the mailbox and try to slip it in without opening the door the whole way. And in doing so, I pulled the mail in, and a big chunk of mail went straight in my mouth because I missed the front of my face. And I just know my mail guy probably has Corona. So I put Corona right in my mouth. It was on the mail, and the mail went in my mouth, and I don't care for it at all.
So the storm door was shutting, and you tried to shove your hand out real quick and grab the mail like Indiana Jones before it closed.
Well, sorry, if you're on YouTube, you'll see the hand out and then yank it back in, and it went in my mouth. And I'm sure there was Corona. A whole piece of paper. Everyone knows what paper tastes like. Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That was in my mouth. A whole piece of it.
Yeah.
Just in there.
We've all seen the diagrams and the images of the coronavirus. Did you feel the spikes?
I didn't, but I want to say that I want to say that I did.
They look like they would hurt. Like, I would think that if somebody ingested coronavirus and that's how they got it, like that would be like the worst part would just be how it felt going down. You know what I mean?
It reminds me of that play toy that's always like the learning toy. That's the plastic ball, and you like pull it out and the thing.
Oh yeah, it's a Tupperware toy.
Yeah, it reminds me of that kind of toy. I don't know why, but that's kind of in my head. That's what I jumped to. I
didn't think they were spikes. They looked to me like Shrek's ears, like really long little suction cups with a little.
Yeah. I don't know what they are.
Little concave thing at the end.
Maybe. No, my memory. It's possible my memory is not serving me right.
I'm probably fine. I didn't like sticking the mail in my mouth on accident.
You should probably stay inside for 2 weeks.
If you say.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here and you're there.
All right. Kendall, how about you? What did you
hold off on opening this
for the holiday weekend?
So we also stayed home. Last year was the first year that we actually went out with the kids, and it was so much fun to do that. Like we took the kids. There's a parade in our local little town, and we did that. And later that day, like there were fireworks being set off at a golf course, but the biggest area of public parking is probably a good half mile or so away from the golf course, and there's like a nature walk that connects the two. And so like it was more of an experience. Like even just taking that walk with the kids was cool and everything. And then this year, like all of that was canceled, and so we stayed home, but we so like my wife went grocery shopping the day before, and we decided that we were going to cook hot dogs over a fire and do s'mores and that kind of thing. I also asked her, like, just get like the stupid little pack of firecrackers or whatever that you can find in a grocery store. Like, just like I told her, like, just get whatever they have, but just buy something. And we'll do that. Turns out that I don't think that, like, when I was a kid, I remember there being at least some mild firecrackers. Like you would get some, like a sparks that would go 8 feet tall or something, or some kind of actual explosion, even just a little one. But no, the only thing that we could buy, that we could find in a place like that, were smoke bombs. And so we set off smoke bombs around a fire in our front driveway. So the fire pit is in our backyard, and I loaded it up on our little yard wagon and brought it around to the front. And my wife helped me set it up there in the driveway. And we had a fire in the driveway, and threw snappers down on the ground. That was their kids' first experience with little paper sacks filled with gunpowder and rocks. And and
we remember those fondly, don't we, Dylan?
Played with them lots. That was the only way to make the G.I. Joe battles more realistic.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
throw those into the middle of, you have the toys lined up and just start throwing them down in the middle of that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's fun.
Mhm.
No, so we did that. We cooked out in the front, which is, and we also had a pinata for the kids. Almost forgot about that. Like, she in the grocery store saw a pinata like on clearance or something, so she's like, "Oh, that'd be cool."
Was it a bald
So
eagle?
it was a popsicle.
Okay.
So we did that, and we had sparklers, and my wife and I had a silly moment where we like did a sparkler dance for the kids in our front driveway. And there's like, in the age of Corona, everybody is like walking in our neighborhood, right? And so people are walking by, and my wife and I are just like doing this silly dance for our kids. Anyway, so we made a night out of it. It turned into being a very fun evening. I like that we were in the front, which is actually something I wanted to talk about a little bit. I was talking to my wife about this. I have felt just a little bit of this conviction, right? About living in a suburban neighborhood, and realizing that like all of us are just like so many people in the suburbs, like everything around them is built so that they don't have to see each other. And our house included, like our backyard, that's where like we have a fire pit in our backyard. We have a deck back there. We have like this gravel patio area and a swing set. Most of our yard is back there. In our front, like we have a few bushes in front of our house. We don't even have a porch that's big enough to sit on. And lately, like that's been bothering me, right? And like I think that I believe that people need to be in community with each other, and if you want to affect change in a world, whether it's positive or spiritual or whatever, like you need to know people around you. And so that was just something that I just enjoyed, was bringing that fire pit out to the front, putting it in the driveway, having the fire there, and like waving and saying hi to the people as they walk by. And just, I would love so much to be in a community where that's what people did. Your neighbors actually hung out on their driveways with their fire pits and that kind of thing. So I've been, I don't know, maybe I'm weird and silly, but that's something that I've been thinking about lately, is hang out in the front yard instead of the backyard, and see what that does.
It reminds me, somebody once described, I think it was coffee shops where we can all go be alone together.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of neighborhoods are that way too. Like you create these safe little rectangles or squares inside of a big neighborhood of squares. And that was like a conscious decision we made even when we had our fence redone. We're like, oh, we've got a 4-foot fence. Do we want to put a 6-foot or 8-foot privacy fence up? And we opted for the 4-foot fence with the see-through pickets. Like we like being able to, lean up against the fence and talk to the neighbors. And we hang out in our front driveway all the time and just set up sports chairs and just watch the kids go by on their scooters, and that invites other kids over. And so, yeah, I think some of what you're saying is probably different in like the coronavirus context, right? But like, I do think that we need to make more of an effort to be in true community. Like, I think if it were up to Sherry, she would prefer the country and a chicken coop and would be perfectly content to not have kids running around in our backyard. Not our kids, like other people's kids running around in our backyard. And I don't think we necessarily set out to live in the suburbs. But since we're here, we believe in being as social and like in conversation or with people as much as possible.
Here's the funny thing. Like the people that I know who live out in the country and not in a suburban neighborhood like I do, like it seems to me they are more routinely hanging out with people in their community than I am. And I, by proximity, am like, I live way closer to anybody than they do. And somehow it it seems like some of them are just, they're more connected to their community than I am. And I think part of that is just the attitude, like the way our house is set up. So even though the people in the country, like, they don't have to worry about how their yard is set up to do this, because that's not an option for them anyway. They're not waving to people walking by because it doesn't happen. In the suburb, I felt like, and I can say this because, like, I do it. Everything was set up so that, like, my general attitude was to get away from people. And because that was my general attitude, like, it keeps me away from people, even though the opportunity is there. When the people who don't have any neighbors, like, are still getting together and having parties and that sort of thing. That's just, I get that. That's just one of those things that I feel is true.
I'm curious, though, how many people set out and seek out community, and how many people are perfectly content creating their own bubble.
Yeah.
Like, it's different for us because we have a spiritual bend and a spiritual background, and there's implications there about being salt and light and trying to love your neighbor. But if you don't have that bias, it's kind of just like, let's create our own little existence and our own little, I'm not saying that those people don't live in community, but I'm just curious, like, how many people truly believe that no man or no family is an island, and that we're all better if we're living in community with other families and neighbors and friends?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't either. But so that's what I mean. That's a new effort on my part that I want to try to do with my family, is hang out in the front. The backyard is still great, and I want to obviously keep that up. That's the backyard, sort of during the day, in the middle of the day, is a nice, safe place where, like, I can send a 5-year-old and 2 4-year-olds back there and not worry about where they are.
Right.
So it still serves its purpose, but, like, in the evening, and our house faces east, so it's nice and shady in our front yard. In the evening, I want to get into a habit of hanging out in the driveway. And as of right now, the fire pit is still next to the driveway. Because I convinced my wife, like, let's just leave it here and let's just see if I use it more often if it's up here. And the angle there is, if I do use it in the front driveway often enough, maybe I get another one and have one in the back and one in the front. But just to do that, because and part of that for me reminds me so much of childhood and things that I start to worry about as my kids get older, that I used to, at their age now, like, I was hanging out in friends' yards just because they lived close to us. And my kids aren't doing that. And that's not something most 4 and 5-year-olds are doing right now. And I just see that, like, is that, like, there's so many good, enriching things that I can look back in my childhood and just see, man, things are different, and in part for good reason. Like, in a lot of ways, things are less safe than they were, or maybe we just hear about it more often. I don't know exactly where I stand on that, but to me, it feels like it's a different world. And, but I still want to, I don't know. I still want to change it. I still want to create something closer to what I had as a kid, or at least the good things, try to mimic some of the good stuff, because that's what I know. But,
well, I appreciate the effort that you're making, and you'll have to let us know, how long you stick with it, and give us an update on how the pivot to the front yard is working.
My final thoughts on the front yard thing is, as you were talking about it, I was hearing how from the middle it sounds, in the sense that people on the coast that are in a major city or other parts of the world where maybe they don't have the sprawling yards that we do here in the Midwest. I'm just finding it funny that it might sound very Midwest to us, but if you're in New York or Chicago, that might be a local community deli, or if you're someplace, that might be a local park or something that's essentially the extension of your space is your, quote, front yard. And so that might look different, based on where you are in the world, or that might be a stretch of beach near a bunch of folks' houses that they all go, that's their front yard, so to speak. But Because I had just been reading some articles about like size of homes in the U.S. and size of yards in space, and that's probably very much parts of the Midwest or middle of the country that experience more of what and relate to more of what you're saying. But I think that
Sure.
just as easily works other places. It's just whatever your little bit of private space / little bit of shared space is. I think it's just as valid, which is cool.
Yeah. For the people who live on the coasts, regular middle class people can afford a half acre around here.
Well, yeah, and if you're and if you're in Chicago or New York, that might be a shared rooftop. Like that's kind of everyone's
Sure.
front yard that they go up and sit and whatever. But while we're on the subject of 4th of July, though, can I just say I saw so many less fireworks videos this year. And disclaimer, I love fireworks, but like nobody's watching anybody else's fireworks videos. And nobody's even going back to watch their own fireworks videos that they did. You tell me the last time. I want people to be really honest with themselves. How many times in the last year have you scrolled all the way back in your photos and videos to July of 2019 or 18, and you're like, you know what? I really want to see these fireworks from the reservoir. They were gorgeous. It doesn't happen unless you're like Walt Disney World and you're putting on the fireworks show for the holiday for like Christmas or 4th of July, and people are YouTubing that. I don't know anybody else who's going back and watching anybody else's 4th of July videos. This is the first year I felt like there's so many less on Facebook and nobody's streaming them. Nobody's watching those. If I'm wrong, people can chime in, tell me they're crazy and they love watching everyone else's fireworks videos. Because if you ever shot one and you went back and watched it in the moment and you realize it's like 1/20th of the sky that you were witnessing, you're like, this is worthless. This is worthless to me. This does not at all encapsulate what I just saw in front of my face.
You've thought a lot about this. This sounds like
Holy
a
cow.
stand up bit, and I love it.
It isn't. It isn't. It was an observation that I had as I was scrolling through social media on the 4th of July and thought, finally, this might be the year people kind of get it. Like I'm all for documenting history and photos and videos, and I'm not on the other side of all the boomers saying like, put your phone away and just enjoy it. Like I get it. Sometimes you want a photo or video to remember the thing, but I don't think fireworks are it, man. Like that's just the thing where you do put your phone away and you just enjoy it.
Only 2 times ever that I can think of have I sought out fireworks videos.
Yeah.
The first one was an accident. No one was hurt. They accidentally set off the entire length of the fireworks show at once.
Right. Okay. Anything that might qualify for America's Funniest Videos or blooper reel is an exception.
This was like a major city, if I remember correctly. Something happened and they all got set off at once. Think of like here in Columbus, we have Red, White, and Boom. And it's like a pretty long, drawn out set to music.
Yeah, you've got like an hour of fire.
Yeah, all of that in 11 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Obvious exception.
So that was the first one. And the second one was a slow motion video where they had sent up a DJI drone, and it's like 4K video in slow motion of the drone flying through the fireworks. And that was pretty cool.
Okay.
That was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. If there was you might tempt me outside of like the Walt Disney World, or the country of Japan for New Year's Eve that's setting off an obscene amount. You might tempt me if somebody had like a helicopter shot and they were able to capture the whole scope above a city skyline. And you're like, man, this is incredible 4K fireworks over Sydney, Australia. Okay, I might click that link. I'm still thinking about it. It's not even a given. I might click it. So it was just an observation. If I'm wrong, email feedback@joeroganexperience.com and tell me I'm wrong. But I don't think that's a thing.
That's a good premise. You could probably, because I think that when I see people taking pictures of things, I think, are you really going to go back and show people that, look at that, put it in an album? Like when people are in the airport and they take picture of like a plane, like just parked before not even the airplane, like things like that. It's like, what are you gonna do? Hey, I was at an airport and I saw a plane.
Yeah, that's where we keep them.
That's where they usually
I don't know. I get some people like to make slideshows, and I get it, but like nobody's watching those.
That's fun.
Our attention span is like 10 seconds. You go to a family thing and you're like, oh man, I went on this incredible trip around the world. People are going to swipe about 5 or 6 photos into that and go, man, that looks like an awesome trip, and hand you that phone right back.
I just assume no one wants to hear your trip story.
Yeah.
And I'm even reluctant to share with you guys on here because I'm like, I know how that is to hear someone else's trip story.
I think it's a little different when there's a comedic take on a trip story versus you just saying like a click-through slideshow of, here I was at the airport. This was the Starbucks in the
Right.
airport.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how big it was. Can you see how many bartenders are in that Starbucks? You know, it's like, it's a totally different thing.
Even family.
Exactly. Yeah. No, yours are good.
I wasn't fishing. Even family who I know loves me, right? I know they'll do the obligatory, so how was your trip to Australia? And like, I try to reduce it down to like 1 or 2 quick points. Like, yeah, they really didn't have any really crazy cuisine, but I tried kangaroo, and also bats fly in the sky.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you have to condense a normal travel thing into like 1 or 2 quick stories or experiences that are very unique. And when people ask, you're ready with those, and it's the George Costanza, like you drop the line and you get out of the meeting and you leave them laughing. And like, that's how you end it. Leave them wanting more. And that's the end.
Duly noted. So I'll stick to my strategy, and
Beautiful.
that's funny. That's funny. So what else is new with you guys?
When I pour a bowl of cereal, I have to push all the cereal into the milk before I can eat it. I don't know if that's a thing. That might have fallen under a previous episode, but I just thought of it because I was eating Fruit Loops. And it's very real. It's a very real thing.
You can't eat a dry Fruit Loop, huh?
No.
Is this all cereals?
Yes. Like, and some people just want like barely enough milk to like just try to get. No, it's like the bowl is almost full of cereal, and then I got to put a lot of milk in there. There's so little room to push around the edges to get it all under the milk, but I got to do it.
I am with you. I think that every bite that I have has to have been entirely submerged, baptized in the cow juice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think what you said.
Yeah. No, I'm a serial evangelist.
Mm-hmm.
That was the joke in my head that I don't know if it came out right.
Something came out.
Something came.
Something did. I don't know if it was a joke, but something did.
Yeah, whatever. Anywho,
I don't know if that was a thing for you. I just wanted to share it.
It is. I too cannot eat the dry cereal. It has to be, every bite has to be pre-dunked at least. But are you saying that you have to like push and submerge everything first before you can take any bites?
Now I could have like, sometimes I just want some like something like Fruit Loops, especially. I could just pour some on a napkin and like eat a couple handfuls. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if there's milk involved in any way, all of the cereal has to be submerged.
I have opinions on this.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, one thing that has been pointed out before between you and Corey is that you have always been, since childhood, save the very best bite to last, versus Corey is a scarfer, right?
Yeah, accurate.
Yeah, and
Even though I still do have weird ways of savoring my food, but yes, for the most part.
I am very much like you, Dylan, that I always save the very best thing to last. Like if I'm cutting a steak, like whatever the center juiciest part, like I eat around that, and that's going to be my very last bite. I do it that way. I think there's something to be said about cereal because I do the exact same thing you do. Like it's cereal is just more luscious when it's like when it's been
Milk.
when it's been saturated with the milk.
Yeah.
And so while I don't have to dunk everything right away, I do strategically eat my cereal so that whatever fell into the pool of milk last, like I want to eat that last, because then I'm also thinking about efficiency, right? Like that bite, it's too soon to eat that bite. It hasn't been in the milk long enough. And so I think about this while I'm eating cereal. So if I'm eating a bowl of cereal, and by the way, if you brought up another food, I probably have another system, as I'm sure Dylan does as well. So it's not just cereal, it's everything else. But if you were to run into me, if you were trying to talk to me and I'm eating a bowl of cereal and I've missed the first couple sentences, it's because I was strategically watching and thinking how I was eating cereal.
I find this extra funny because I can say with almost 100% certainty that no podcast has dared waste time on this kind of subject.
And here we are.
After an episode where they had a professional news anchor come on
I
to
hope
talk
these
about
are-
the state of the free press
And how
and racial tensions in our country. Listen, folks, where else do you get highbrow, lowbrow? We're all over the place. You're welcome. Continue, because I have lots to say about the cereal thing.
so I
that's
didn't
all.
mean to jump on your cereal thing,
No, it's
Dylan.
fine.
It's just I have strong
I
opinions
take
about
the
it.
spoon and I go all the way around the edges and dunk everything around the edges, and then I hit the middle and then I start eating. So I know by the time I start, I don't have to think about any bite after that. All of it's been milk covered.
Okay, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you pour the cereal and you dunk everything right away.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you dunk a portion? Because to me, it can get too soggy.
I'm going to eat everything so fast it won't matter. And you think that I'm kidding. Even Fruity Pebbles wouldn't be a problem. All of it going to be gone.
Because I would say dunk like a quarter of it, eat that section, dunk the next quarter, eat that section.
What if I accidentally ate some dry cereal? I don't know what would happen, but it seems like it would be bad.
But I really care about the timing too, because I've ignored phone calls after I've poured a bowl of cereal. or scoffed at Sherry, who asks me to do something or help her. Like the worst possible thing, relative, is when I pour a bowl of cereal and I just start to go carry it over to the couch and I hear the garage door open, meaning Sherry's back with groceries. And I know I'm going to help. It's like, I just poured a bowl of cereal. Or she said, "Can you come up?" And I go, I just poured a bowl of cereal.
It's so true.
You want to savor it in the right, whatever your preferred ratio is. For me, the milk to cereal ratio is, and I use large bowls, folks, like bowls that were never intended for cereal. I'm using for cereal.
You know the bowls that most people will like pop popcorn and put it in that bowl for a party?
Yeah. Corey,
that'll hold a family-sized box of cereal great on its own. Just the whole thing.
So I feel that
Corey used one of his cereal bowls to level ground for his pool.
So I'll pour that much dry cereal in, and then I'm pouring milk, and I know I have enough milk when that whole pile raises just a little bit. That's the right amount of milk.
Yep. Cool.
Wow, I didn't think we'd go that deep into the cereal thing. I thought that
I think there's another giant topic in the cereal world, which is have you guys ever, and what are your thoughts on the cereal refill? Right, you have pre-cerealed milk. You ate all of the cereal out of there. You have milk left. Have you ever gone back and poured back into that milk?
in that same milk?
Oh,
Yes.
sure.
You're a crazy person.
What are your thoughts on
here's
that?
the catch. Ain't nobody eating soggy cereal. You got to finish every single piece of that cereal that's in that bowl before you can pour more cereal in there. And if it's something tiny like Rice Krispies, you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
You'll use the same milk?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I might have to add a little extra depending. If I want 2 full bowls, I might have to put more cereal in, because that cereal is just that much sweeter with like the cereal juice that's been made, and it's
Milk, yeah.
and then you add a little cold milk to it.
It almost feels irresponsible to have man, there's a lot of milk left here. I think I need more cereal. Like there's more milk than just like, if there's more than like 2 gulps left, that's too much, man. You've got to refill it. Otherwise, I feel like, I don't know how it makes sense. It's a fat guy thing, but that means that you have to refill it at that point.
See,
I feel like
I like the cold milk over the dry cereal, and I like the, I don't want to say watery, but it hasn't been sweetened by the cereal yet. I like a fresh batch of that, so I would slurp all the milk up and just start over for my second bowl.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's just you do you.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. Actually, you pour milk, drink milk, pour more milk.
Yeah.
Because
I like skim milk. I know that's not popular. Like, I like my milk water, like watery, like cold and icy and watery.
Well, just add cold water then.
Yeah, just eat your cereal with water.
Not watery. What's the word? Just like less fatty than
Less flavor.
Less viscous.
Worse tasting.
No.
Whatever makes it taste worse. You want that.
That's funny.
I tell you, I grew up on skim milk, and we do 1% or 2% here at home now, and it's like a whole new world for me.
It's amazing those little changes in percentages on the jug, how much the flavor changes.
Yeah,
it's wild. All right,
it's wild.
That's all I had on cereal. It was a thought that we're doing updates, so I needed to share.
Well, all right. So, speaking of fat guy moves, something that is relatively new, or maybe just rekindled in my life, has been the use of suspenders.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking to all the large fellas out there. You know who I'm talking about. Relatively speaking, it seems like a lot of large men have small behinds, when it's really just their behind just didn't catch up with the rest of them. And that's me. I'm shaped funny. Trying to put a belt on me geometrically doesn't work.
I just imagined scientists and experts standing behind Kendall going,
geometry is way off here.
Geometry is way off.
There's a guy with a protractor.
Yeah, there's a guy with a TI-83 going, look, there's the math. The math's not gonna work out. There's no, I ran it 7 times.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't.
The numbers on a calculator, nothing changes. I'm telling you. Geometrically, it ain't happening. I've graphed it. I've used all the axes. Nothing's changing.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is like, yeah, I just don't see it.
He's already tweeted about it. He's already tweeted it isn't going to work.
Oh.
All right.
So it doesn't work. Every time I go to put on a pair of shoes, even I stand up and I have to hike up my pants. If I walk more than 10 steps, I've got to hike up my pants. Cinching that belt tighter does not help. And so I started wearing suspenders. And it's changed my life, guys. It really has. My pants stay up. It's amazing. Suspenders, I know suspenders have come back in kind of semi-ironic fashion, and the hipsters are wearing them. The skinny guys, who oddly enough don't need them,
who would be fine with a belt,
whose geometry is that of a normal human being. But for us large guys, forget about the trendy little thin suspenders. Like, those aren't going to do anything for you. I have a pair of Perry's suspenders that are made to hook onto a belt, because I still like to wear a belt.
Yeah.
And it just, I can go all day and not touch those pants again. And it's It's a beautiful thing. I felt like it was important enough to include, and it's my fashion advice.
I'm glad you did. I have thoughts as a guy with a gut and no butt. I like the aesthetic look of a belt. So I'm glad to hear that you can still do the suspenders and a belt. Because I would say that some people look at that and go, why are you doing both? Do one or the other. But I don't like the look of suspenders on pants with no belt unless you're a very skinny guy or a very lean guy and it kind of looks cool because they have a flat stomach.
And you need a really like perfectly fitted pair of pants to make that look good. Like almost tailored dress pants that like your waist and everything looks like exactly like those pants were built for you.
So you think I could do suspenders and a belt?
They make like Perry's PRRY apostrophe S, I think apostrophe.
Do they sponsor
belts.
podcasts?
I was gonna say
I should find out.
Kind of first big sponsor we would land would be suspenders.
Yeah, but no, they're made to hook onto your belt. Now they don't look pretty. I wear them. I'm also an undershirt guy, and so my situation is undershirt tucked into the jeans with the belt with the suspenders, put on the nicer t-shirt on top, untucked. The only downside is you have to take that outer shirt off to go to the bathroom. So
one of the girls asked me this week, Dad, why is she didn't say crotch of your pants. She said, why is the low part of your pants so low? And I said, because I have no butt.
Yeah.
I got a really thick, nice leather belt, an Amish made awesome belt, which you'd think they'd be making suspenders. Huh.
That's who actually makes Perry.
It's against their faith to have belt loops. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm like, I have no butt. Like I'm with you, Ken. You could get that sucker so tight that it's hurting you, and it still doesn't hold up the pants.
As soon as you half bend over, it's over. Yep.
It's physics,
It is. Man, just think about like all the large fellas out there. Like think about the fact that like you could take a knee and not have to think about whether or not you're going to rip the crotch of your pants because they're sitting where they should be.
I'd love to hear from our listeners on their thoughts on this, especially if you're a larger guy.
Yeah, we'll have to share this episode farther and more wide to get some more feedback on this one. We're really going to hammer this one. Kent Justice had his time. We're going to really hammer this one out there and make sure we get good feedback on this.
Exactly.
I think the cereal thing, here's my theory about social media or anything that you put out creatively. This has been true for me many times before, and I know it's true for this podcast. If you put something thoughtful, thought-provoking, challenging, deep, 2 comments, 3 likes. If you say something like, guys, thoughts on cereal, 7 shares, 74 comments.
That's how it works.
And sometimes I'll use my social media channels as just a social experiment. One of the most interactive things I've ever posted ever on Facebook was about how I figured out that you could use toothpicks to stab cheese puffs so that you don't get cheese all over your fingers and clothes. And then somebody else goes, well, that's the best part of cheese puffs is the cheesy fingers because you get to suck off the cheese from your fingers. But if you don't like to be messy, you could just poke them with a toothpick. I had more comments and interaction on that than anything I've ever posted.
I think it's pretty easy though. Like if you see something that thought provoking, your reaction is generally one of 2 things. If you've actually sat and read it, I don't want to take the time to respond to this. There's one. That's one reaction. The second reaction is, if I post on this, I don't want to have to reply to all the people who are going to disagree with me below my thing. And so it's either laziness or hesitancy to have to engage. People don't want to have to defend themselves or turn out to be wrong on something that's very serious. And so that's that's the problem when you have something that's that serious. I'm frequently super wise in the things that I post. Tons of wisdom, tons of brilliance. Nothing. I get nothing. And I know it has nothing to do with people not liking me or thinking that I'm uppity. Never would be the case. I'm sure it's just hesitancy or like, I'm kidding. All of that is a joke. This is a comedic facade to make you laugh. Please don't light me up on social media.
You made the mistake of trying to play that joke with two jerks who'll just let you say it.
I know, right? If you are upset by what I said, feedback at JoeRoganExperience.com. Just let me know your thoughts. Send it all there.
Man, I stirred the pot once when I talked about the double stuffed Oreos versus regular Oreos versus triple. Man, people came out with the opinions, and it's funny.
Yeah, there happens to be a local pizza group that we've talked about before in our community that people will get all kinds of riled up.
They're so entertaining to me, though.
And Kendall, you're hilarious in some of your responses in that group. Like, I think today you said somebody was bashing something that's it's like repeating the parroted thing that people always make fun of this place.
Right.
And he's like, Kendall's just like, you must be new here. Welcome to the group. Because it's just such a common sentiment that that is tough. Seriously, though, it is tough because I think people are tired and don't want that level of seriousness on Facebook, or they know it's going to create a thing. And then they have to decide, if I put my thoughts or what's important to me, then am I going to have to defend myself? Because people can't just comment and let it go, right? Like, you've got to engage.
Is it also because thought-provoking means thought-provoking and it doesn't require a response, and you can see that and go, that's nice, or
no, people want to weigh in on everything. That's not it. That's definitely not it. People want to weigh in on everything.
It's funny.
Anyways, it's great though. I mean, if we've got to post questions about Cheese Puff versus Cheez-Its, that's fine. That's the kind of poll we'll put on
the question, because that's no question.
That's apples oranges, man. Cheese Puffs, Cheez-Its. How about Cheez-Its versus Goldfish? I could try. I have opinions on that one.
Can I modify and actually pick?
Of course.
The Aldi brand, not goldfish, they're penguins, but basically goldfish are better than goldfish, like the Pepperidge Farm.
Interesting.
So I would pick the Aldi brand penguins, and there's a parent somewhere that's listening to this. It's like, yes, because they're better and you can taste it.
Well, thank you for not saying Aldi's, first of all.
Aldi. Yeah, I said Aldi, right?
Right. Yeah. I said thank you for not saying Aldi's.
Yeah, Aldi brand. Yes.
That's funny.
Okay, that's all I got on that.
Speaking of funny, 2 Saturdays ago, one of my favorite comedians, Maria Bamford, did a live stream.
Live stream,
ladies and gentlemen. So excited to be here. Did a live stream. And her friend and fellow comedian Jackie Cation opened for her. And then they did a 1-hour Q&A at the end. And this is a hot debate in the world of stand-up. I think we're all 3 fans of stand-up. And many of my favorite comedians are like, I don't want to reduce myself to these Zoom stand-up sets where I have people pay $5, $10, $15 for the login. Because it's sort of damaging the art form. But then other comedians are like, yeah, it's less than ideal, but it's a way for me to make money when people aren't allowed to be in a room together. So I'm going to do it. And it kind of reminded me of the conversation we had with Jeremy Kester about momtographers, and, that there are levels for everybody to play, and at least they're trying it and seeing how it goes. And so it was really interesting to be a part of. It's really weird not to have the laughs and the reaction. But it was a great set. Maria was hilarious. Jackie was very funny as well. And then they were just very thoughtful and down to earth with their Q&A at the end. So I'd love you guys' thoughts on, like, the idea of them trying that. Is that something that you would ever join? or be a part of? And what do you think about, Sebastian has talked about it a lot, Dylan, because I know he's been doing them. His agent has been booking a lot of corporate live streams and Zoom calls where he just goes on and sort of makes fun, does crowd work, and sort of makes fun of all the people and their backgrounds in the Zoom call. Thoughts on any and all?
Yeah, I'm not gonna like try to A/B compare like different industries, but like my thinking is, with what's going on in the world right now, if Hamilton, the play, can go straight to Disney Plus because Broadway shut down, I think any comedian can take a look at themselves that, maybe Jerry Seinfeld doesn't even have to think about it if he doesn't want to. But like, if you're B tier, C tier, I don't think there's anything wrong in taking a look at the climate right now and going, maybe this is a way to make this work for a little bit because I'm not stepping into nightclubs anytime soon. And so I don't think it degrades the profession at all. If somebody doesn't want to do it because maybe they find it too challenging, because what comedian doesn't talk about how they really play off of the crowd? Like, if some comedians are like, look, it's just not my thing, I can't do it, or I really don't like it, fine. But like, I don't think there's any harm in looking at that and seeing what's possible right now. But obviously comedians are essentially independent contractors, so that's like a case-by-case basis of who's willing to do what kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I don't have any strong opinions, other than I just find it interesting, just how much things are changing and how creative people are getting and thinking outside the box of man, can I do something as simple as set up a PayPal account, and if somebody pays, I send them an email with a code, and can it be that easy? and the answer is yes, if there are people following you. I mean, when here we are doing it for free, right? So I mean,
you guys aren't getting paid for this.
That's the one thing that I found interesting from the, putting the comedian's hat on, and a lot of people asked in the Q&A afterwards, like, how's this experiment going for you? Like, how does it feel when you can't hear the reaction to a joke? And because normally they would use that and go, okay, don't include that in the next time I try it, or ooh, make that pause longer because I need a space for a laugh break right there. Like, they aren't able to do that. Now there's a chat window that's flying by, because I think there were 2,000 plus people in this live stream. So you can kind of see afterwards, like, what people commented most on, or did the laughing, crying emoji the most on, but they really have no immediate sort of feedback and reaction to gauge or continue to tweak their set, which is really interesting to me.
I would also think that I know nothing on the situation to base this off of, but I would think if you're somebody like her, you have enough agents and people around you that you can do a rehearsal, and you've got live reactions, and you're unmuting everybody because these are people that either fans that you're letting into this small event, and the director or the agent says, hey, there's going to be breaks, we're working through some of the material, but you're letting them kind of laugh and react, and the agent says, hey, pause there, that was really good, maybe drag it out. You might be able to do something like that with 10 or 15 people and test it out and beforehand, and at least have a small sample to work from.
I thought it was interesting when Jackie opened, they unmuted Maria. So Maria was laughing at Jackie, and then vice versa. When Maria did her hour, Jackie was unmuted and was laughing. And that was almost like a peer-to-peer, like, oh, I almost paid more attention to where Jackie was laughing at Maria, because it was like, even as a comedian, she thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
That might have been all each other needed.
Right, exactly. It was just enough of that little bit of like, oh, this is coming from another professional in the industry who laughed at that section, where something else might be been an easy sort of like, an easy sort of get almost everybody to pandering sort of joke. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was good. It
I
was
do
something
feel like
cool to be a part of.
I do feel like that kind of entertainment, like using technology, that more people are willing to buy into that kind of idea now, because obviously on the flip side, like they miss being entertained in a fashion that's different from just surfing through YouTube videos. So we've talked about Leonardo Torres music, and he's the guy who started a YouTube channel here during COVID. He's the one who did the non-Christian review of Oceans, and man, he's still going strong. But he has begun doing premieres with YouTube. So he's watching a scheduled premiere of one of his videos, and everybody else is watching with him, and he's chatting in the comments with you when he does it. And so, like, because I'm fanboying on him right now, like I joined a couple of those, and man, it's really cool. Like he's there, he's responding, he's a super nice guy. I mean, if you say there's probably a couple hundred people at most in one of those things right now, so the chat box is manageable, and so like, but it's just it adds this element that I've missed, that is more personal than it was even before COVID. But it's still I feel like it's still, in a different way, it's filling a gap, it's filling a void that's been there. Leonardo Torres music, by the way, on YouTube. It is currently my goal in life to have that guy on our podcast, because I think he's awesome and super sweet, and I think that he would fit in well with our conversations. And so everybody go check out his videos. Make sure you comment that From the Middle sent you, and that From the Middle, like, that he should be a guest on From the Middle. That is my goal in life. Let's make this happen, everybody.
Speaking of Leonardo, he sent us a personal video, and
He did.
to us and our listeners.
Classy move.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dude.
Very classy. Day class A.
Day class A. Very nice. Yeah. Thanks for that, Leonardo. But yeah, I'd love to have him as a guest. He just seems like one of those guys that you just want to hang out with. Like you said at the beginning, Kendall, very affable and sweet and down to earth. Anything else new, fellas?
I think that's all for this side of the paywall. You find out my opinion between Cheez-Its and Goldfish crackers on the other side of that.
Yeah, maybe we should start a Patreon so that people can find out even more of our weird food and eating quirks.
Oh, we're just getting started.
They have no idea.
Or my unoriginal thoughts on Hamilton, because that's what everyone wants to know, what a guy in Ohio thinks about Hamilton.
Is there anything we've been watching, or movies or shows that we've tried to catch up with?
Well, Hamilton, but
other than
seriously, nobody wants my thoughts on that.
Everybody in the world has been watching Hamilton.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Has anyone watched Space Force?
I started.
Is it good?
I didn't get far. Kendall, have you? You last?
I started and finished Space Force. I love it. I didn't think I was going to, because I've heard mixed reviews about it.
Yeah, same.
And I think that helped me, because that helped temper. Like, it's don't expect stupid. Well, there is stupid comedy in it, but there's much more of a storyline to it that you need to follow along. And I mean, it's still not like highbrow entertainment or anything, but no, I loved it. Didn't think I was going to. I was a big fan. I did try to watch Ozark.
Yeah.
And that fell flat for me.
Oh no.
And I've heard great things about Ozark. And you know, I'm one of the Arrested Development cult fan followers.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of us were like, "Oh, Ozark," and no.
Very different tone.
Well, different tone, but it's it's Bateman, right? So that's why. That's for me. Arrested Development was all like, man, that actor, dude, I need to see what he does.
Yeah.
And so then you go over to Ozark, knowing full well that it's entirely different, but wanting it to be so good, and for me, it just so wasn't. I mean, it's just like, so maybe it's for that type of a drama series. I expect it to be more complicated. I think is what I boil it down to. And after like I think 5 or 6 episodes that I watched, it was still maybe not. There wasn't enough plot twisting and complications in it to keep me excited about it. So I stopped watching it and then started Space Force, and that was a good move.
Bummer. Sorry you didn't like it.
Yeah,
One of my favorites.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Alone is back on TV, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. And the more and more people I listen to on podcasts, they're talking about Alone. I think it must have just become available on Netflix. I think I've talked to you guys about it before. So that's back on. I'm trying to think of anything else. I'm really behind on TV and movies. Dylan, you watching anything new?
I've done a lot less. We talked about Downton Abbey. I watched back through Band of Brothers, which used to be a yearly tradition, but I hadn't watched it in 4, 5, 6 years, which is obviously incredible. I'm getting excited for Mandalorian season 2. We've got some time, couple months, but they're teasing some big stuff for that, and that's what supposedly production is on schedule, and they're still working on it somehow. I don't know though. I don't know how much is going to be on TV in the fall, but we'll see. Right now, I think the next thing we're going to try to watch. I'd already seen season 1 of The Crown, but my wife had nothing else, and my wife has seen none of it. So we might try to like binge through The Crown next. But I'll let you know.
Hey, Dylan. So we were at Dad's on the 4th, and I was going through his DVD collection, and he has a bunch of Blu-ray, DVD, digital combo clamshells or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of going through them, and there was a few I wanted to borrow, and he goes, and then I realized, wait a minute, what do you do with your digital copies? And he goes, oh, I never do anything with those. And I go, oh, really? So I got to him before you did, man. I grabbed like 5 or 7 of them.
Yeah, which is way better. At least you have them, and they're in your Movies Anywhere collection, and then you can download them. Especially you, though. You probably would get a lot more use out of them right now. Once you get back to travel, you can download 3, 4 movies at a time and keep going. But
I felt like it was a heist or something, and I told Dad, I'm like, I'm so glad I got to these before Dylan did.
That's such a nice Dylan type of response to like Corey trying to be like, I got him for you. I got it. Dylan's response, yeah, I think that you'll probably really enjoy those.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, that was the real Dylan. You're used to this sort of upstart comedic crass version. It's a facade. It's a show that I put on for this little podcast. And that's the actual Dylan, the nice one. Actually, the other day we were somewhere, and I don't know the context at all of how we got there. But my wife and I were talking about somebody who had just done something. And I said, yeah, I don't really care about people. And she goes, there it is. I said, no, that came out wrong. I'm sorry. What I meant was, and it was really what we had covered already in this episode, which is people aren't very good at condensing the things that are going on in their life to bite-sized, agreeable versions. And what I was saying was, I don't really want to ask about the thing because I'm going to get a really long version that's not going to be very interesting. And so it's not that I don't care about the people, it's that there's this whole other element to when you ask somebody and you know, it's tough. It's like you can care about the person, but not care about a 6-paragraph explanation that needed 3 sentences. You know what I mean?
He's being nice. And what he's not saying is that Bree said, have you asked your brother how the pool's going?
No. I really don't. It could have been about you, but I don't think it was. I really don't remember who it was about, though.
That's fun.
And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus anyways, but it was like one of those things where I knew whatever thing had just happened was going to be a really long version of the story. And I was like, if I ask, it's not going to be quick.
But that's also your kind of like diet whatever.
Yes, it is. It's a little bit of the Sebastian, like, let's go, it's a little bit of that. And I don't mean to be rude, but like some people just live their lives with a slightly shorter patience. And that's where I was in that moment.
People really should be, more concise when they talk about updates in their lives. We just did an hour-long episode on it, so there you go. Hey, it's been fun hanging out with you guys. Glad to know you're all doing well and made some memories over the 4th. Thank you to all of our listeners. Please let us know your thoughts on any and all of the topics that we've discussed. You can email us at fromthemiddle@protonmail.com. Reach out to any of our social media pages at From the Mid Pod. We have a Facebook group and page as well. Anything else we want to talk about, fellas?
That's it. See you. Bye.
All right. Have a good week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.